I'm gonna give you a brief bio for a second. Yeah, let me give you a brief bio first. It'll be slick online, but we may take one from the audience. We may take one or two. Okay. We'll go, me and you will go like 40 minutes, and then we may leave 10 for that, and then get done, and then we start the book signing at the back. Yeah. We should have a bottle of water down below right there. You hadn't seen the paperback just came out. Oh, well, you gotta take that one with you. Yeah. Yep. Welcome to the National Civil Rights Museum. I'm Ryan Jones. We are celebrating a special Women's History Month book and author series, and who better to bring in this current time and state than Mrs. Tamika D. Mallory. Thank you for being with us today. I would love to introduce Miss Mallory, who needs no introduction, who's a mother, a grandmother, award-winning social justice activist and author, one of the most influential leaders of our time. She made history alongside the other national co-chairs when she helped shepherd the largest single-day demonstration in American history, the 2017 Women's March on Washington. Tamika is the co-founder of Until Freedom, an intersectional social justice organization that serves as a clearinghouse for organizers, activists, attorneys, artists, celebrities, formerly incarcerated individuals, and others committed to liberty. Her significant contributions have earned her recognition as one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people, inclusion on Fortune lists of the world's greatest leaders, and the Phoenix Award from the Congressional Black Caucus. She authored the acclaimed book, State of Emergency: How We Win and the Country Rebuilt in 2021. The title echoes the urgent declaration she made in the opening of her viral speech during the George Floyd protests in Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, a timely message viewed by millions around the world. Her second book, I Live to Tell a Story, a memoir of love, legacy, and resilience, released this past year, is a powerful memoir offering an intimate look into her life, activism, and journey of resilience. Her truth-telling, brave, and unwavering commitment to equity, justice, and healing has deeply moved and motivated a new generation of spirited, engaged activists, as well as leaders, change makers, and people from all walks of life. Again, let's give a warm Memphis round of applause, Ms. Mallory.
Thank you so much.
No, our pleasure. You're no stranger to Memphis or the National Civil Rights Museum. You participated in our MLK 50 events, but coming back, you just walked through the walls of the National Civil Rights Museum. You saw the balcony at room 306. What are some of the things you think about when you come to this sacred ground?
Well, first of all, I was thinking about how much the space has evolved. Because I remember, when I was younger, much younger, coming here with my parents, and it wasn't as fabulous as it is today. So that in and of itself is a beautiful thing to know that there have been people so committed to preserving this space that it's really truly, it's not janky. It's not, it's really been preserved in a wonderful way. And it is a testament to what we as Black folks can do, and especially especially when we work alongside our allies, we can create a space that is not just for remembrance, but it's also for us to be active, to go and get the fuel we need to get out there in the world. And so I definitely felt that. Every week there is some reason why I am dealing with the ebbs and flows of the movement, the world, the stress of all the things that we have to manage. And I came here today with so much on my heart, so much on my mind. And I didn't walk in and get sad. I walked in and felt empowered. And thank you so much for being such a wonderful tour guide. You were able to go from, let's talk about kids and whatever's happening personally, and then as soon as I had interest in something, you're like, yeah, that was this moment in history, and that's beautiful as well. So it was all things great. I'm glad to be here. I am so grateful to my parents, to my movement family, whether it be Reverend Sharpton as, the person who really brought me up in this work, that they saw fit for me to come to Memphis, to be here, to stand on sacred ground. So it's good to be back.
Great, great. You talked about your parents, and a resident, born and raised Harlem, New York. Yeah. Your parents were involved in this movement. Talk a little bit about their grassroots origins, and when did you know that this was your spiritual calling to get into this work?
I have to say that there's been many moments that have helped to shape sort of when I knew. And I think it is a renewal because sometimes I'm not too sure. I'm like, Lord, what else was I supposed to be doing, But I would say that when my son's father was murdered, that was the first time that I felt convicted that it was my movement. Before that, it was my parents who were bringing me to rallies. You had no choice. It was like church on Sunday. You just had to go, And so I was very much so doing it because it was the thing to do. It was the family legacy. It was the rules that would get you punished, and some other things that my mom has told me, don't be telling people about whatever we used to do back in our house to discipline our children. and so, you just had no choice. But once my son's father was murdered, I think, I felt in me that everything they had been trying to show me for so many years, they had been trying to help me understand what our community, or they were trying to help me understand our community from the lens of not just me as a privileged child, but people who were not so privileged and what they were going through. And then what was my responsibility to stand in the gap for my friend down the hall who didn't always have food, who didn't always have the things that they needed. And so, as my mom made sure that, and it's in the book, I actually tell the story about a moment where a kid was, always needing my snacks in church, and I just couldn't stand him. One day he was being bullied by some other kids, and I had to stand up for him because I certainly wasn't going to watch him get beat up. And afterwards, my mom said, I heard what you did. And she told me the story about his experience, that his father had passed away, his parents lost their residence, his mom lost her home, and they had moved to the housing projects where I was living. But we were living like, I didn't know we were poor in the housing projects because our house was tricked out on the inside, But my neighbors, a lot of them didn't live that way. And my mom was like, you have to be nice because you never know what people are going through. And even though I still didn't like homeboy at all, I was bringing him a bag of snacks to church on Sundays because I learned the lesson. And so the conviction for me over time has just been being rooted and knowing that I have so much responsibility because I'm so privileged, because I had two parents in my household when others didn't have that. And so, you know, my son's father is one part of it. That hurt a lot, and I learned at that age of 19 years old when he was killed, you know, I learned that his story, what happened to him, is a result not of just somebody pulling the trigger, but there's a story on both sides. And that was a part of the conviction. And then, like I said, there's a renewal of my mind all the time as I see the ills of the world, and I know that I've been given something special to do the work that I'm doing.
You connect the past to the present, and you look at these demonstrations of the 50s and the 60s and those organizers and those activists. But then you fast forward to the present day and contemporary time, and there is this disconnect in what it means to be an activist. What do you think that the current movement of today misunderstood from those before, and then vice versa?
You know, I think that I sit as a 45-year-old woman who has a son who's 27, I think maybe he's about to turn 27. And a 3-year-old granddaughter. I'm kind of like an oldie but goodie, you know. It's like I'm asleep at 6 o'clock, and therefore I sit at the center of being a child who was raised in the movement around a lot of elders, and of course my parents, and then also being a person who can kind of pass for being in the younger generation. I was invited to do a show a few days ago, one of these days, and hello, and they said that I was going to be on the young folk panel, and I was like, really, like me? But that's actually a blessing because I get to kind of live and navigate in both worlds, and I think one of the things that I realize the younger generation doesn't always get is the amount of footwork that went into organizing at an earlier time, you know, in an older time or earlier time, right? That there was no mass media machine where you could just post something and hope that 1,000, 2,000, or even 10 people show up. At that time, you had to go out and knock on people's doors. You had to go to churches. You had to have relationships. You had to be trusted. You had to do real hard community organizing. And I come out of that tradition, and so I still do it. You know, when I was living in Kentucky to help Breonna Taylor's family organize, we would, you know, every day people wanted to go out to the rallies. We had a march at 12 noon every day. And everybody was going to be there because people were mad. It was COVID. That was the thing to do. We go into the protest. We mad about everything. Obviously, the whole country, there was an uprising happening. And it wasn't always hard to get white folks to show up. So I would walk out to the rally and be like, this is a lot of white people. And I ain't mad because we need our allies and accomplices to put your body on the line. But where are our people? And I realized that we had a false sense of reality because we were posting the flyer and people who were tuned in, they were showing up. So I would get up out in the house, and I had a lot of young folks that work with me, and they are brilliant, and they help me be more courageous and all the things. And I get up and say, take us to the community. Where's the community? Take me there. Now, of course, they always tell me, you're a little person, and you don't need to go to this area because it's dangerous. Don't ever go there. I hear that every time I hit a city. The people who have me there tell me, don't ever go there unless you're with XYZ person. And as soon as they turn their head, I always tell the driver, take me straight to wherever they said I shouldn't go, you know. And the next day, I'm like, yeah, we was in the hole in the wall last night. It was lit, you know. Yeah. And so I would get up in the day and say, hey, take us to wherever the community is. And we automatically watch the number of people of color start to come out. They didn't know. They just don't have time to be on social media following everybody and paying attention to all that trauma. They just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But once we started knocking on those doors, and then once we started providing food and resources, people began to see the movement as their own. And we were able to increase the efforts of those who were already on the ground, because there were people who were already there, and I want to make sure we honor them and the work that they were doing. So with that being said, I learned, at least I remembered that good old door knock. There's nothing you can substitute that with. So I would say that's for the younger people. But then on the flip side, so many older people tell me, don't give them a cell phone. They don't know how to work it. And I'm one of them. So, let me be honest. But they don't know how. They're trying to learn technology. They have nothing. So therefore, they're not even connected with their own children, because there's no way for you to know what is happening with the group of individuals that you intend to impact if you don't go into the world and try to at least open your mind to some of what you see happening. Somebody like that over there. Yeah. And so we've got to be in a transactional relationship where I take a little bit from you and you take a little bit from me, and not have these walls up to say you're too old or you're too young or you're too much into tech, or you're not tech savvy enough, and it become a wall between us. And those are just examples, but I think if you apply it to many different areas, you will find that there will be more opportunity for good relationship and bonding between the two generations.
That's so powerful. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The book, I Live to Tell a Story, is on sale here tonight at the National Civil Rights Museum, followed by a book signing with Ms. Mallory. Let's talk a little bit about it's March, Women's History Month, which should be celebrated all 12 months, by the way. But many people first came. There we go.
Yeah.
Many people first came to know you nationally through your role as co-founder of the historic Women's March in 2017. When you reflect back on that moment, what did you understand about the power and the responsibility of organizing on that scale?
I think I learned 2017 whooped me down. From 2017 to 2019, it was the hardest 2 years of my career. And I've had some hard days even recently. So for me to say that those 2 years were tough, y'all know what it's like when you have 2 hard years. And it's funny because with all the struggling and all the turmoil and tension that I experienced during those 2 years, I also was probably at the height of visibility. So people often think that visibility is associated with this grand happiness, and it can actually be the other way around. And so that's something that I learned, that there was a target on my back, no pun intended, because I was so visible. And I had no idea what to do with it, with all the things that was attached to that. And that's not what you asked me. You said, what did I learn? I mean, I learned this lot of stress, but, put that aside. I learned that intersectional leadership and organizing is the only thing that will help us win the battle that we are fighting. That there were certain issues that I'm really serious about. There are things that I hold very dear to me, and at any given moment, if we're in a room and we could be talking about baseball, and I'll bring up certain things, that are my passions. But what I ended up having to own and understand is that you have to be willing to learn about someone else's struggle in order to expand the work and bring more people in, because it gets tiring when there's only a few of us, or that keep on having to recycle and handle the load. We need more people involved, which means you have to provide more entry points for people to feel connected and to see themselves. So we can't be in a movement that excludes our LGBTQIA brothers and sisters. We just can't, because how do we, again, expand our work if we don't see the oppression of other individuals? We can't exclude women. As our brothers, sometimes I look at programs at churches and functions, and there's not one woman on the program. And I'm like, this doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. We watched this. We know this model is a failing model because it does not allow people to see themselves and say, I'm actually different, or, I'm whatever I am, and I deserve a seat at this table as well. But what I can tell you is that what that also does is create some hard work. Because the respect that it takes to understand people who are different, the work that it takes to put some of your stuff aside and allow other people to center themselves and their issues, it's a lot. There's a lot of being able to reduce your ego so that other people feel elevated in the space. Coalition building is a lot of work, but it is literally the only thing that I have ever been a part of that was effective. Everything else, any and everything else, dies with the silo, And that doesn't mean, I'm not suggesting that black folks can't get together and say it's only going to be black led. I'm not suggesting that we can't do that. I'm just saying that all black people are not a monolith.
Yeah, wow. 1955, this previous generation remembers where they were when they saw Emmett Till's corpse in Jet magazine. Late May 2020, this generation today remembers where they were when they see these seconds of what's happening to George Floyd. And in the wake of his senseless murder, your speech in Minneapolis resonated around the world and described as the speech of a generation. In moments like that, how do you, as an activist, channel both anger, yet keep hope in a way that mobilizes people towards positive action?
That's a heavy, loaded question. Y'all
We're at
heard
the National Civil Rights Museum. That's what we do.
Jesus. Hope and anger. Oh man, that's where we're living right now, right? Like, we can't lose hope. We can't lose hope. But I'm so angry.
Yeah.
I'm so angry. And I'm like VP Harris. I told y'all. I said this, and I lost friends. How many of you all in here, y'all found out that people you thought was cool, they crazy? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, what are you talking about? People were saying things to me, and I was like, is it me? Like, what? Just bugged out stuff that I don't even know where they picked it up. I have friends, good people, that lost it. They got sucked up into this thing that, they start telling me about, just all these conspiracies that have absolutely nothing to do with like you and your life and what we are experiencing. How dare we ever believe that white supremacy is going to be better for us than fighting for our own, even when it's not perfect?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm angry with the system. I'm angry with people that I know could have done something. I'm angry that some folks didn't feel the need to vote. When people tell me they didn't vote, I'm like, again, really? Like, you didn't think? And these are people who will say to me, I can't believe this. You can't believe it.
Wow.
Like, I can't believe you. And so I walk around heavy, and I am unwilling to fake it. Like, I'm not angry, like I'm not grieving. I think Bishop Leah Daughtry, for anyone who may know her here, she gave me that language, because I was like, what is happening to me? In my life, I'm doing well. My granddaughter's amazing, and things are going pretty well. I got some stuff, but I'm doing good. Why am I feeling so sad? And by the way, in front of the cameras and everybody in here, I am not suicidal. I'm telling you now, I'm not and I mean it. Like, I'm not suicidal. If anybody ever says that, I killed myself, I can tell you right now, it was not me. Was not me. But I do feel so sad. And I'm like, what's happening? And she said, you're grieving. Grieving this moment that we just didn't have to be in. But I have to get up every day with the hope that there's a reason why it's happening. There's a reset, because I truly lean in on my faith. And I know that nothing that has ever happened without it being in alignment with where we are supposed to be in that moment. That's hard to swallow, but it's real. And it is probably, if I had to come up with my own, and thinking I might be a preacher in my mind, right? Yep. If I had to come up with my own thoughts around why we're in this moment, it's because we just didn't take things seriously enough. When we had the opportunity to really unify, and it happens all the time. I'm dealing with stuff right now that it's like, if we would just unify, if we would just do that, we could change the world. Not just America, we could change the world. But it's hard to do that. And so maybe we needed to be in this space so that we could be reminded of the work that we're supposed to be doing and the love that we're supposed to be spreading and sharing with one another.
Absolutely.
And so the only thing that gets me to not so much park the anger, but to understand it and not allow it to take over to the point where I'm crippled and can't do my work, is that I have to put hope forward, that we're going to make it through this. I know that the battle wounds are going to be severe, and we're going to lose some people, we're going to lose some things, we're going to lose some rights, all of that. It's already happening, but on the other side, we will provide for our children, hopefully, I believe, a better future. And so that's the thing that I have to balance, and I hope it resonates with other people, and that is what you're holding, that I'm angry, but I'm also hopeful that there's a reason, and we're going to make it together.
Make it together. Amen. Let's talk a little bit about the book. You open door this book, the vulnerability in it, and you talk about some pretty deep and heavy things. And so we want you to purchase the book and read them. Yeah. But when the cameras are off and the rallies are over, what does restoration look for you now?
When the cameras are off, I don't like cameras, by the way. That's not to be, I'm not trying to be offensive. Please get my cute side. But I'm not a person that likes to be in front of the camera. I just have never been that girl. And it's funny because people are like, what? Like, you? And I love a good selfie, but it's really not my thing. I just be trying to keep up with the world. I often turn off those things and just be me. My son, if he was here, he would be like, y'all ought to see her when she is not dressed up and looking cute to be outside. He's like, you be looking like Angel Mama. Like, what is going on? And that's a big part of my joy, that I don't have to be anything for anybody. Just leave me alone and let me rest and be with myself. That is something I did not know how to do well until I went to rehab. That was the first time in my life where I had to be alone with no cell phone, no real TV, no friends, no real responsibility, nobody calling on me. I wasn't important. I was an addict like every other addict inside the facility. And that was it. That was my reality. I had to get to know what it's like to take all of this off, undress myself, and be okay with being with me. It's some hard work. And I know there are people in here that know exactly what I'm talking about. You either do it yourself or you know somebody else that always got to be on the go, got to be in something, got to be talking on the phone, doing. That used to be me, and that's what got me in trouble. That when I went through the public attacks that took me off the speaking circuit and out of the spotlight, I didn't know what the hell to do with myself. I thought my life was over because my whole identity was surrounding Tamika D. Mallory, the brand. But rehab brought me back to Tamika the girl. And since then, my journey of just being in a bonnet is the best feeling ever. It is restoration. Folks will call me and see me in my bonnet and they will say, you ain't going nowhere. I'm not coming. I can't make it. I can't make it. I'm not wearing shoes. I just can't. And I thank God for giving me peace with myself like this. Thank God for it. Then I also like a little twerking too. I'm for that, I was in Harlem one day and this woman, I had been on the Breakfast Club, and I said that they asked me a similar question, and I said, I believe in twerking and working. I think you can do both things. And so I was sitting in Harlem at Sylvia's restaurant, which is like my kitchen, and it was summertime, and this woman walked by, and she saw me, and she said, hey, you're the twerk and work girl. And I was like, I made it. I got a quote branded. Because I don't know where we came up with this idea that we can't have fun and be a part of movements and be serious and be lawyers and be all these things. Somewhere along the way, we became socialized to this idea that the more stressed and unhappy you are, the better, more successful you are. That's crazy to me. No, we should be able to whatever it is. It might not be twerking for you or you or you. It certainly probably is not twerking for you. but whatever that is safe for you, you got to invest in it. Yeah. It's okay I love Pilates. I'm not going to miss it. I'm going. I'm not going to, I used to say, I can't do it because I need to be at this. I'm going to cancel. I've probably been doing that a little bit lately, so let me be honest. But overall, I'm going. And I'm going to pay for it and sacrifice something else so I can go to Pilates. I'm going to now invest in my happiness as much as I've been invested in this movement. And I suggest that everybody in here, especially down through these days, take really seriously what it looks like to enjoy life and to enjoy the people around you. My son lost so many years with me, even though I was sitting right there. Because I'm on the phone, there's a big crisis somewhere, and I'm managing and handling. And, even in the movie theater, leaving him in the seat while I go to the back to go be on the phone to do the thing, people telling me to turn the light off on my phone and all of that. And not because I was I wasn't running a play somewhere. I was doing real work. There was a family more than likely or some project on the other side of that. But he lost so much of me because I wasn't present for him. And he will tell me that. He don't mind telling me everything that I did that bothered him and messed up his day and whatever. And so even though I am still very busy, but I do find myself hearing my granddaughter's sound, and it stops me. And I'm trying to learn to put the phone down, to put the book down, to put the project down, and just let her be so that I can allow her to see what it is to have a real grandma. So that's what's happening for me. That's what the camera's off, the phone is off. I'm in a holy t-shirt and I'm chilling, and I'm really happy to be in that space.
God bless that. Yes, ma'am. movements often face intense scrutiny and criticism, as you've alluded to. What's been the most difficult lesson that you've learned about leadership and accountability and public perception while standing in the forefront of this movement? Because let's be real, history in this movement, the civil rights movement that we interpret here in this museum, has always been criticized. I mean, they called this a communist front from the beginning to the end. And you're seeing a lot of those same ideas and philosophies that are recycled now. What have you taken from the pushback that you've received over the years, and how do you respond to it?
I feel so sorry for people who consider themselves to be my friends, because they're always in trouble dealing with something with me. And, you know, and it be serious stuff, you know. I'm just thinking about all of the drama with the Target boycott right now. Misinformation is a trip. Like, the way that things just spread, and you can't even grab it anymore, because now there are people who have found a way to profit from our distractions and, the disagreements that happen within our community. And also, there are people in the community that benefit as well from creating chaos. Yeah. And so what I have learned, though, is that misinformation is probably one of the most dangerous causes of why we are not moving as aggressively in a more successful direction, and it scares me, because I literally watch things like wildfire just go crazy, and no matter how many times you explain it, the algorithm will never allow the truth to be louder than the story that is being made up. And so what does that mean? It takes us back to point one, or maybe it was point two, that we have to actually have conversations directly with people. And so if I was somebody in this room right now, I'd be like, yo, what's up with the Target boycott? Like, well, how did y'all just say that it's over? Well, how did anybody say it's over? Right? I would ask that question. Y'all want to know, right? Y'all came here sure enough wanting to know. Ain't you glad I brought it up? And so then when you get information, you can go take it and spread it. But that's the responsibility that we have. We have to do that. So I'll just give a quick thought on this. I don't believe that any one group has the right to tell anybody that a grassroots-led movement is over, or that people have to go back to any store. First of all, we shouldn't be buying probably anything from anybody. If we stop buying with all the companies that have disrespected black people, we'd be walking around naked and hungry. Really. Crawling, maybe. No shoes. Like, it's that bad. I don't wear Nike right now because of, what they did to Kyrie Irving. I stopped wearing Nike and got rid of every single piece of Nike in my entire wardrobe. I don't have anything, not a t-shirt, anything. And in this situation, I want people to know that the Target boycott movement is bigger than any one person. Senator Nina Turner called me and asked me to join her and help her with her efforts as it relates to a boycott. So to be clear, I didn't call anything ever, because I was not one of those who had the vision to say we're going to organize a mass boycott. I just became a strategist to help it get to where so many people are today. But I think it's important to recognize that this hasn't been 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, which is the phenomenon of it all, that this has been going on for a long time. And for some of us who got involved very early on, it's been 400 days for us. And we're sitting in a space that reminds us of the 381 days of the Montgomery bus boycott. And I am not in any way comparing the two. So let's be very clear. I'm just saying the comparison is the people were that angry to say we're going to keep going and keep going and keep going. And so, when Dr. Jamal Bryant says, since we started 400 days ago, which, by the way, when he started at that point, because Nina Turner also called him, he introduced a Target fast, which was a tactic. It was an organizing strategy. It wasn't a boycott. It just was something to give people an actual thing to get involved with. It was supposed to be for 40 days. For 40 days. But by the time we got to the end of 40 days, Target hadn't really responded. Nothing really had been done to in any way meet the demands that were put forward. And so it got extended and extended and extended, and now it's almost 400 days. And so what he has said is, I am sunsetting the fast. I'm sunsetting that, which is a particular activity, and there are, members of clergy involved, and they've done protests outside of Target facilities and a bunch of things that he's maintained. He said, I'm sunsetting that, and the movement still goes on. And he used the word over one good time, and honey, that thing went fire, this wildfire over the entire internet, that he is calling off the boycott. So I had to immediately make it clear that we don't have the authority to say that a boycott is over. My mother is not going back to Target. She ain't going, and I'm not going either. But what I know, to go back to your question, is that you can say things and try to be as perfect as possible, but if you don't get it exactly right, which is a hard thing to do when you're human, you will end up finding yourself in the middle of something that you can't even get control of. And so imagine if they replicate that on every issue. Kamala arrested, she can't get away from, she locked up black men, and we know for sure that that's not true. But that story, how many times have you heard it? Everywhere we went, she locked up black men. And we could go on and on and on with black folks or people in general, that something that may have said or done turns into a thing, and even those of us who are in this room who know better will share it before we really understand what it is that we're participating in. So I would just say that I think we as leaders have to be careful. We have to be more thoughtful. We have to understand that, and once you know that, then you got to be extra 10 times careful. But also we have to leave some space for humanity, for people not to be perfect all the time, and then figure out what can we do to mitigate being a part of something that it's really not communal when everybody else can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps. I mean, it's so much more. You can pull me over to the side and I could give you some more details. No, I'm joking. Because that's really it. That's really it. Like, that's really the crux of the matter. But I hope, I've watched this happen so many times. Like, I brought up the example of Kamala Harris. I have sat back and watched people be destroyed based upon the algorithm literally choosing to push a particular message. Like, whoever it and they may be, knows how to destroy every bit of progress that we've ever had. So God bless us. And know that my father called me one day. Alicia Keys is my good friend, and there was a whole big thing they were running that her and Swiss, who are very happy with each other, were getting a divorce. It was a whole thing. It was all over the internet. Anybody else saw that? It was all on Facebook. Everybody was talking about they were getting a divorce. And my dad knows that she's my friend. So he calls me up, and my father is a conscious black man now. This is a man who knows and doesn't, he be looking online, and he says, that's a lie. But he called me, and he was like, how's she doing? And I was like, who? And he's like, Alicia Keys, how's she feeling? Everything okay? And I said, what are you talking about? And then it clicked, and I said, Dad, you think they getting divorced? He said, well, that's what they said on Facebook. And I'm like, what? You know, they ain't getting a divorce. But how do you know what's real from what's fake? And I don't have an answer because sometimes you can't tell. It looks good. It looks true. But I know we better do it just a little bit more asking questions before we make a decision to participate in something that can undermine everything that we have going on.
Say that one more time. One more time. Thank you for watching on the live stream. I want to ask you two more questions, and then we're going to open it up for some questions and comments from our audience, in person and online. This memoir, I Live to Tell a Story. Which part of the story has yet to be written?
Oh, Lord. You too smart for me. You know? Man, writing this book, I had to open the shed in the back of my house and go down in the basement and pull things out that had been tucked away, and I promised they would never see the light of day. So the whole thing was hard, and then even the good moments still felt like I can't even believe I made it to that because of all of this other stuff that I had been through, gone through. And so when you say what hasn't been written, I would say that as I am on the 5-year, now actually 4-year journey towards 50, I have learned what it feels like to care less and less about what people think. And I am excited to see how that manifests, because I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm excited to see how that manifests in my life later on. Like, what will I be when I don't have the constraints of what are they going to think, and, you know, who's not going to be proud, and who's going to be mad, and what's the crowd saying? When I can actually release that fully, I'm getting better, but it takes time. I want to see what it unlocks for me in terms of the next phase of my life. And I think that's the story that will be told in the future, because I will be a more evolved and free me. And I don't know what that means. I might go in a mountain somewhere and, like, live there or something. Mm-hmm. But I'm ready for that thing that all of my elders tells me happens at some point where you just don't give a damn anymore. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. We can clap to that. Last question. We think of these change-making, fearless, courageous, brave black women in history. Ida Wells, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, now Tamika D. Mallory's.
Oh, man,
when
wow.
you look into this audience and abroad, to who may be listening to us, what do you tell to the 16-year-old young black girl who sees a wrong and wants to be compelled to get involved in this struggle? What do you say to her as words of wisdom and communication?
I'm so corny. This is so corny. But if you're 16 or 17 years old and you see something and you're like, I want to do something about it, my answer would be to go find an elder who has done it before and sit at their feet and learn. That's what I would do. And that's so corny, because young people are like, I don't need to talk to, I can go. You will gain so much and go so much further by sitting at the feet of someone who's traveled that road, who can help be a cheat sheet for how you can move and navigate and not get as many scars and bruises as I have and others have on that journey. You know, I talk to elderly people, and I know if they probably be like, okay, I'm elderly, but damn, I talk to older people, more mature, seasoned people, but, I'm talking about 80. My mentor, I think actually her funeral service was today a year ago, Hazelwyn Dukes, Dr. Hazelwyn Dukes, who was the New York State Conference president of the NAACP and a civil rights icon on the board of the NAACP. She was, when she passed, she was 92, I believe. And I also speak often to Cora Masters Berry, who is the widow of the Honorable Mayor Marion Berry, and she's 80 years old. These are people who I don't miss 2 days without checking in with them so they can get temperature for where I am and give me some jewels to help me move forward. My mama, is 80 years old, and the wisdom is so important. And so for a 16-year-old, 17 teenagers, young people, there is so much, it's such a quality life when you have leadership and guidance that actually loves and cares about you, but also has the passion for what you're trying to accomplish. And as they say, there's nothing new under the sun. And so anything you're trying to do, someone has already done it. And again, you could learn so much from them and not bump and bruise yourself as much as, you will without that leadership. So I say, find you a mentor, find not just a mentor, because I can be a mentor, but there's something about that older wisdom that you need in life. That's the thing. And listen to your parents. It's in my book. I talk about it all the time. So many things I've gone through. My mama said it. She has said it. She was like, that girl is not your friend. Don't go to this place right here. Don't make this move. Watch out on this side. But I knew it all. I knew it all. And so a part of I Live to Tell the Story and the pain that you hear in there, I have to own that it was self-inflicted. And that's when life got good. Because I was walking around carrying everything everybody did to me. And it was a point in my life where it clicked that I did some of this stuff to myself. And I would say that self-accountability is really, really, really important.
It's real important. Thank you for that, Ms. Mallory. We're going to briefly open it up. We'll take one or two questions from the audience here. I see a lady here right here has her hand raised up. If you could stand up and cite your question.
Hello.
So I learned about Mallory when he went on the Target situation. And I never shopped at the Target no way, because it was too expensive. But, so he did his thing. So for the last few months, I haven't heard him talk about Target. And now I am hearing that it is over. So why is he been quiet? And I say he's quiet because I follow him, and I haven't heard him talking about that since a while.
There he has, we all have, right? It's, and it's very similar to a lot of people thinking that there was just a fast, a Target fast for the purpose of a fast, and that they didn't realize there were actual demands that, we had placed before Target. It was 4 of them, to be specific. And a lot of people were like, I didn't hear about that. I didn't know that existed, that those demands existed. Where do I go and find them? And of course, we always hear that in the midst of a frenzy. But they've been on targetfast.org the whole time. And I know I've talked about it to nauseam, and he has as well. So the other thing that the algorithm doesn't do is always push us the type of information that we need, right? And, movements, as you know well, they have ebbs and flows where everybody's in it, and then they can't wait they're gone for a while, maybe still not going to Target or not doing the thing or supporting the thing. And the next time you may hear from them is either when there's a big win or when there's a big disappointment, right? And so I wouldn't say that he hadn't been talking about it, because I've seen him on CNN and other places a few times in recent months. But also, we were having a few meetings with the Target executives and trying to work out those demands at the same time. So that may be some of why you didn't see him as much, but it also has been 400 days. And so in that first couple of months, it's heavy, it's on. And I guess that, that it's also important to say that managing while being all the things that we all are, right? We all are so many things. And being able to manage the type of activity that is needed to sustain movements is hard work. It's not easy. It takes investment. It takes people who want to do the work. And so you have moments when you're up and moments when it's not happening as frequent as you would like. And I think that that may be where some of the holes are. But also, it was not his responsibility alone. There are a lot of other people who across the country had called for a boycott in their own space and were doing their own activities. And one group particularly was in Washington, D.C., the Boycott D.C. group. They protested for almost a year outside of Target, one Target facility, every single Saturday. Every single Saturday they were there. But nobody's really going to tell you that, right? The media is not going to push that, and yet they were out there. I went, I visited, I saw how powerful it can be, how powerful it was. And there were clergy members and other people who were really committed, and they were there every single week. And yet our algorithm may show us that a little bit here or there, but it certainly is not going to push it the way that it will push the negativity. So it was stuff happening for sure. And the struggle continues. There are people across the country who are saying, and particularly the folks in Minneapolis who are there where Target's, their headquarters is, thank you. They're saying, they ain't stopping nothing. They going forward. So that's great. I stand in solidarity with all those who do anything to be in struggle for our community. Please.
We'll take, go ahead, right here.
Good evening. My name's Erica. I actually work here at the Civil Rights Museum.
She is the co-director of collections and exhibitions.
Oh, okay, awesome.
One, I wanted to just thank you as a Black woman for your work, for your sacrifices, and just for the authentic way that you show up.
Thank you so much.
The other thing, I was joking with my colleagues about how laid your hair was. I'm going somewhere with it. Follow me. I would love to know the story about your photograph on the cover and what went into that choice, because it's beautiful, and I'm assuming there's a story behind it.
It is so much of a story. I will tell the short side. Thank you, by the way. I appreciate what you've said. So I never do anything the way that people be telling me to do it, and that gets me in so much trouble. And I was, they were trying to figure out what to do with the cover of my book. It was either the cornrows or the bust down. It's called the bust down, just so you know.
See y'all.
So there was one or the other, and they were like, pick and choose. And I kept looking at it, trying to figure out what does each thing represent? Each look, what does it represent? And which one do I want to put in the world with this book? And then, of course, they suggested you put one on one side and the other on the other side. And I was just like, yeah, that's cool, but that's typical, right? And so my mom, because my first book, State of Emergency, doesn't have a picture on it at all. And she was so pissed about that, telling me, girl, how people gonna know with this black book that this is your book? You need your picture on there. And I said, Mama, it's gonna be on my second book. Don't worry. And she's like, okay, so, cool. So I had that in my mind, that she asked the question, how are they going to know who it is? And I sat with that overnight. It gives me chills. I want to cry because it was so powerful. Like it was on me every day thinking, they're trying to push me in this direction. And I get it, but I'm not one or the other of these looks. And so I asked my hairdresser and my hair braider, because there's two different people, can we make this happen? And how y'all think I'm gonna look? You think I'm gonna be looking stupid? And they both was kind of like, maybe, They weren't all the way convinced. And then I told the editors, this is what I want to do with the cover. And they were like, okay, let's get some inspiration. We don't know, but we'll see. We got the inspiration shots. We thought it was kind of cool, and then we did it. And when it was over, my hairstylist said, oh, this is the new style. Like, we need to be rocking this on a regular basis. You could create a trend. And that's when it hit me that I had made the right choice, because I am a trend. You know, to be a girl who can twerk and work. Right? Like, I'm a trend. And then I said, now this is the cover that represents me, that it's not either or, but it can be both and. And my truth is that that's me. So thank you for asking about the cover. Thank you.
Twerk and work and bust down. I'm learning some stuff today. I'm learning something. I got one more for my sister right here.
Hi, sweetheart.
My father, Valentino Dixon, was exonerated from prison in 2018 after spending 27 years
Wow.
wrongfully incarcerated.
Praise God. Praise God.
And that, by default, made me an activist in my community in Ohio. And I just want to know, from your personal experience and your background, what do you think I can continue to do to make an impact?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And God bless you and your family and your father. And it is a great thing that you would be saying, what more can I do? Because most people, that's it. They get their thing and take their toys and go home. But for you to be here in this space trying to figure out what can you do is a testament to each one we reach back and grab another. So since you have so much information and you have a person in your life who can actually give you firsthand account on what it took from the inside to get on the outside, and then you know and your family knows what it took to push from the outside, there are so many people who need to be taught that skill so you can go back and get so many brothers and sisters who need to be exonerated. Sometimes what happens in our work, and I try my best not to be Debbie Downer to folks who have so much, like they're just bursting with all the energy to go conquer the entire movement. They're just ready. They're like, I'm gonna do it all. And I often say, and I run the risk of, again, almost deflating people's desire and feeling, their passion. But folks will go from getting in the movement because there was a school board fight, and then the next thing you know, they're downtown trying to tell people what to do in the police accountability space. And that's where it always goes wrong. I've watched those types of folks run out of energy because it was a hot moment in the police accountability space, and so they ran there and thought they could become a leader in something that they did not really have the skill set to lead in. And so it's okay to stay within what you know, because there has to be a reason why, to go back to what we said, that anger and that hope, it has to be a reason why you have the ability to do that. And I would double down in it, and then just go become a lawyer so you could get all our people free.
That was such an important question. Listen, y'all, thank this fearless, courageous, brave sister who is doing the work in this generation today. Tamika, thank you so much for coming to the museum. The book, I Live to Tell a Story, is on sale here at the National Civil Rights Museum. Please go and get your copy quick. They're selling out fast. And for those that are here and are watching on our live stream, thank you for continuing to support us. Please come and mark your calendars for Saturday, April the 4th, 2026. We're commemorating the 58th commemoration of Dr. King's assassination here at the courtyard. And please also mark your calendar for Saturday, May the 16th, 2026, when we will reopen our Legacy grand opening.
And thank you.
We had such an incredible moderator. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful conversation. So let's give John a round of applause.
Thank you all. We're going to have Miss Mallory come down the stage, and she will be at the table at the very back of the room, and we'll be doing a book signing. Thank you again.